I'm a nursing student, blind in one eye, which often leads to me bumping into things like walls, doors, or furniture, leaving me covered in bruises on one side of my body most of the time. During a class discussion about signs of abuse, our instructor mentioned frequent bruising as a red flag. I spoke up, explaining that bruises can have other causes and shared my situation, showing the marks on my arm from running into door handles at school. The teacher agreed, stressing that with adults, we should talk to them first to understand the cause before reporting anything, unlike with children, where authorities are contacted immediately if abuse is suspected. A short while later, police showed up at my home after a report claimed I was being physically abused due to my constant bruises. I explained my disability, and after checking my home and speaking with my family, the officers found no evidence of abuse. They revealed the report came through my university, which takes such claims seriously, and wanted to ensure my safety. I also met with a university psychologist to confirm there were no mental signs of abuse, and life seemed to move on, though I kept showing up to class with bruises. Then, a classmate warned me that another student, let's call her Kay, was telling others she might call the police again because of my bruises. Sure enough, the police came back, and I went through the same process. Frustrated, I told the university that Kay was using these reports to harass me. They decided to move her to different lab sessions so she wouldn't see my bruises anymore. Kay confronted me, calling me cruel for disrupting her schedule, claiming she was only trying to help. Comments from others pointed out Kay's failure to follow the lesson about talking to adults before reporting, a critical skill for nursing. Some felt her repeated actions were harassment, especially after the first investigation cleared everything. Others shared similar experiences, like having frequent bruises due to clumsiness or medical conditions, unrelated to abuse. One person noted Kay's behavior could be dangerous in a professional setting, especially in cases of domestic violence, where premature police involvement might escalate risks. Another asked how I get bruised so often, curious about my vision in the other eye. I explained that my other eye is nearsighted, and while glasses help, they limit peripheral vision, and turning my head constantly causes neck stiffness. Bruising is just part of my life, especially in unfamiliar places, but it doesn't affect my ability to work. Some questioned if nursing was the right career for me given my impairment. I assured them I'm capable, love helping people, and only injure myself due to occasional inattention, not because I can't do the job. Later, things escalated. Kay didn't stop. She kept calling the police, spreading rumors in class that I was abused. The police received multiple reports, possibly from Kay or others she involved, though they couldn't disclose who due to privacy rules. I told them I felt harassed, and they promised to start tracking callers' numbers. If someone continued after being warned, they'd face harassment charges. Despite being removed from my labs, Kay called again, using a different name, not realizing her phone number was recorded. She was charged with harassment and misuse of police resources. A classmate later told me Kay was no longer at the university, likely facing expulsion due to her pending charges. Meanwhile, Kay's mother got involved, trying to find my address to confront me about dropping the charges, which I hadn't filed. The police did. A classmate, let's call her Lily, who I'd worked with on a project and who knew my address, warned me. Lily is distantly related to Kay through marriage and heard from her family that Kay's mom was searching for me. Lily refused to share my details, even deleting our text messages to protect my privacy, and reported the situation to the university and police. The university stepped up security, arranging escorts for me to and from my car and parking it near cameras. Since I'm currently at clinical placements, not the main campus, Kay doesn't know my location. The placement site was also informed with security measures in place to keep Kay's family out. Lily, at a different placement, is facing pressure from her family to share my contact details, but is standing firm. I'm hoping this dies down before my exams in a few weeks, trying to focus on studying rather than this drama. The university responded quickly, arranging security escorts for me to and from my car and ensuring my vehicle was parked near cameras. Since I'm at clinical placements, away from the main campus, Kay doesn't know my location, and her expulsion came before she could access the class list of clinical sites. My placement site was informed, receiving photos of Kay's family members to watch for, and they've banned them from the premises. Lily, at a different placement, is facing pressure from her family to share my contact details but is holding firm, keeping her phone secure to prevent leaks. I'm hoping this fades before my exams in a few weeks, as I'm trying to focus on my finals and the nursing licensure exam, but it's tough with this drama looming. Others were shocked at Kay and her family's persistence. Some suggested a restraining order, but I feel it's unnecessary since the police and courts are handling it, and I'd rather move on. Others worried about the impact on my family, as Kay's accusations indirectly implicated them as abusers, which could harm their reputation or jobs. One person shared a story about their toddler, who bruises easily due to a blood disorder, facing false abuse reports from a neighbor upset about unrelated issues, like construction noise. The ordeal was stressful, mirroring my frustration. Another, whose brother is a nurse despite being blind in one eye, encouraged me to ignore doubters and pursue my career, sharing how their sibling thrived in roles like ER and trauma nursing. As the weeks rolled on, I threw myself into my clinical rotations, which were both exhausting and fulfilling. I was stationed at a bustling hospital ward, where I assisted with patient assessments, administered medications under supervision, and practiced the physical exams we'd honed in class. My bruises, of course, kept appearing, a misplaced cart, a low table I didn't notice, but I'd learned to brush them off with a smile, explaining to curious patients or colleagues that it was just my body's way of keeping me humble. My supervisors were impressed with my dedication and noted how my personal experiences helped me connect with patients who felt vulnerable or misunderstood. One elderly patient, struggling with mobility issues, told me my openness about my challenges made her feel less alone. Moments like that reminded me why I chose nursing, despite the chaos Kay had stirred up. But the situation with Kay's family didn't fade as I'd hoped. Lily contacted me again, her voice tense. Kay's mother had shown up at Lily's clinical site, claiming she just wanted to clear the air about the charges against Kay. The hospital's security team intervened, escorting her out after she grew agitated, demanding Lily explain why she was protecting me. Lily was shaken, worried that Kay's family might track me down through mutual acquaintances in our small town. She'd heard from her cousin that Kay was spinning a narrative that I'd orchestrated her expulsion to sabotage her future, conveniently omitting her own repeated misuse of police resources. The university had finalized Kay's expulsion, citing not only the harassment charges, but also her breach of the nursing program's code of ethics, which demands professionalism, sound judgment, and respect for others. Losing her place in the program was a devastating blow for Kay, but her actions had left the administration with no choice. The police reached out to update me on Kay's case. They'd compiled a solid case with phone records, witness statements from classmates who'd overheard Kay's rumors, and Lily's text evidence showing her mother's attempts to find me. Kay's mother had received a formal warning. Any further attempts to contact me or interfere would lead to her own charges for harassment. The officers also mentioned they were investigating whether Kay had enlisted others, like friends or family, to make additional reports, as the volume of calls suggested more than one person might be involved. I felt a mix of relief and lingering anxiety. The legal consequences were closing in on Kay and her family, which might finally stop their harassment. But their obsession with me felt unsettlingly personal. I wondered if Kay was driven by denial, unable to accept her mistake, or if her family's involvement stemmed from a need to defend her at all costs. Either way, I didn't want to get caught up in their motivations. I just wanted peace to protect myself. I took extra steps. I varied my routes to my clinical site, shared my schedule only with my family and closest friends, and checked my home's security cameras daily. My family, who'd been shaken by the repeated police visits, added motion sensor lights and a new lock system to our home for extra security. They were frustrated not just for me, but because Kay's accusations had cast a shadow over them, implying they might be abusers. My parents, who work in community-facing jobs, worried about whispers in our town, affecting their reputations. I started keeping a detailed log of every interaction related to the situation, from Lily's updates to police calls, in case I needed to present evidence later. Lily, meanwhile, was growing weary of her family's pressure. She told me she was considering blocking her cousin's number to avoid the constant demands for my information, which made me feel guilty for inadvertently pulling her into this mess. I thanked her repeatedly, promising to support her however I could. As my exams loomed, I leaned heavily on my study group, who were now my biggest cheerleaders. They were outraged about Kay's behavior, with one joking that she'd be a perfect example for a case study on ethical violations in healthcare. We spent long nights reviewing patient care protocols, pharmacology, and ethical decision-making, which felt ironic given Kay's complete disregard for those principles. My professors, informed through the university's administration, checked in with me quietly, offering extra time for assignments if the stress was overwhelming. I thanked them but declined, determined to prove that Kay's harassment wouldn't derail my goals. I also started attending a peer support group for nursing students, where I shared my experience, without naming Kay, and gained perspective from others who'd faced challenges in their training. One student, who'd dealt with a false accusation in their program, encouraged me to stay focused on my passion for helping others, which lifted my spirits. Looking forward, I'm cautiously hopeful this is nearing an end. The legal system seems to have Kay and her family under control, and the university's security measures make me feel safer. I'm channeling my energy into my finals and clinicals, dreaming of the day I'll graduate and start my career, using my experiences to be a compassionate, thoughtful nurse, qualities Kay clearly lacked. Lily deserves all the credit for her loyalty, and I plan to treat her to a celebratory dinner once exams are done, assuming we both survive the stress. My family and I are also discussing ways to give back to the community, maybe through volunteering at a local health clinic, to reclaim some positivity from this ordeal. If anything else happens, like another move by Kay's family, I'll deal with it after my exams. For now, I'm focusing on my studies and my future, refusing to let Kay's chaos define my path. But the situation took one more unexpected turn. A week before my exams, Lily texted me late at night, saying she'd overheard her cousin mention that Kay was planning to appeal her expulsion, claiming the university had overreacted and that she was being unfairly targeted. The appeal was a long shot, given the charges against her, but it meant the drama might drag on longer than I'd hoped. The university informed me they were prepared to defend their decision, citing the overwhelming evidence of Kay's misconduct. Meanwhile, a classmate who'd stayed in touch with mutual friends of Kay's heard she was posting vague rants online, hinting at injustice without directly naming me, likely to avoid further legal trouble. These posts didn't gain much traction, but they showed Kay still wasn't taking responsibility. Stay grounded, I started journaling about my clinical experiences, focusing on the patients I'd helped, like a young mother who thanked me for explaining her treatment plan in a way that eased her fears. These moments reminded me why I'm in this field, despite the obstacles. I also reached out to a mentor from my program, a nurse with years of experience who offered to coach me through my licensure exam prep. She shared her own stories of overcoming workplace conflicts, which helped me see Kay's actions as a small, if frustrating, chapter in my journey. My family, too, rallied around me, planning a small celebration for when I finish my exams, complete with my favorite home-cooked meal. If Kay's appeal goes nowhere, as I expect, this might finally be the end. But if her family tries anything else, I'm ready. Armed with my documentation, the university's support, and a growing confidence in my ability to handle whatever comes my way. I'm grateful for Lily, my classmates, and the online community who've backed me up, turning this stressful experience into a reminder of the strength I've built along the way. Here's hoping my next update, if needed, is just about passing my exams and moving closer to my nursing dreams.